Hola y bienvenidos a la lección del futuro, el tiempo futuro, the future tense. We'll also call this the simple future tense. This is not a compound tense. That will follow after we learn how to use the future tense and how to form it. So this is the simple future. Okay, so you can see here we have a picture of two people. It says, las nuevas microcomputadoras serán más pequeñas, and serán is the future tense there, so you can kind of get a glimpse of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So how to form the future tense. It's very, very simple to form the future. It's a little bit different in the sense that we are not chopping off the ending from an infinitive anymore. What the future does is we conjugate it by adding the endings to the infinitive. So there's only one set of endings, so there's 6 endings that you have to learn, and that will apply for all verbs in the entire language. So we have has, hemos, eis, an. And I'll demonstrate that on the next slide. Okay, so again, the future tense is formed by only one set of endings for AR, ER, and IR. Even in a few slides ahead, I'll show you the irregular verbs, and they have the same endings as well. So these endings are for every single verb in the future tense in Spanish. Okay, so we're going to attach the endings to the infinitive. So there's our infinitives, hablar. Okay, so if I want to say I will speak, hablaré. You will speak, hablarás. He will speak, hablará. That would be she will speak too. Or usted will speak, hablará. Okay, so we will speak, hablaremos. Y'all will speak in Spain, hablaréis. And then they will speak, hablarán, or y'all will speak, hablarán. So as you can see there, we just attach directly to the infinitive. Okay? And I also want to note that every form except the nosotros has a written accent. So take note of that as well. Okay, pretty straightforward. So just to show you again, there's tomar, comer, and vivir. This is an AR, ER, and IR verb, and you'll see that they have the same exact endings all the way across. Okay, so you don't need to learn 3 sets of endings. So it's pretty easy to use the future tense in Spanish. All right, so just to demonstrate the present tense, we might say en la clase hablo español con el profesor, leo un cuento chistoso, y escribo unas frases. So in Spanish class, I speak Spanish with the teacher, I read a funny story, and I write some sentences. All right, so in the future tense, we'll say, hablaré español con el profesor, leeré un cuento chistoso, y escribiré unas frases. You hear the stress on the verbs where the accent mark is, because it is on the end of the word. Okay, a few things about the future tense. Okay, so it's basically the equivalent of will plus a verb, pretty straightforward. Okay, so if you want to say, I will study computer science at the university, estudiaré informática en la universidad. You will buy a new computer soon, or this is you all will buy a new computer soon. Ustedes comprarán pronto nueva computadora. Okay, so just to remind you that this is often a contraction in English, you'd say you'll. Okay, or I'll do something. So that is a contraction, and that is also the future tense in English. Okay, I want to remind you that the present tense is often used to express immediate future. We've been using the present tense for immediate future this whole time, so don't forget that you can still do that. So if it's pretty immediate future, like something's happening today, and you want to say like the technician is coming to fix my computer today, you can just use viene. You can use the present tense. So I don't want you to just totally throw out the present now that we know the future. The future tense is just another way of saying it. So termino mi informe esta tarde. I will finish my paper this afternoon. So if you were to say that in the future, terminaré, I will finish my paper this afternoon, that's not incorrect. It's just another way to do it. But I do want to remind you that the present tense can be used for immediate future. And we also use ir plus a plus the infinitive. So don't forget that too. That was from Spanish 1, and there's nothing wrong with using ir plus a plus the infinitive. I'm just showing you a new way to convey a future action by forming it with the infinitive and adding your ending. So here I'm going to do something. Voy a arreglar la computadora. Vas a archivar ese documento. Okay, so these are kind of computer-centered vocabulary, but that's not really our focus right now. So remember that ir plus a plus the infinitive could also be used here. Okay? All right, so Now let's talk about irregular verbs, okay? So irregular verbs in the future are formed by adding future endings to an irregular stem. So again, the endings will be the exact same 6 that you saw for regular verbs. It's pretty cool, right? We don't even need to learn like separate endings. So there's like 3 categories that we can group these irregular verbs in. So first category, we have decir and hacer. And what we do with these 2 verbs is we drop 2 letters from the infinitive to form the stem. So decir, we get rid of the E and the C, and we are left with dir. And then from there, we add our endings, dire, dirás, dirá, diremos, diréis, dirán, for I will say, you will say, etc. Hacer, okay, we're going to get rid of the CE. So we have ar, right? And that's arre, arás, ará, arremos, arréis, arrán. So that's the first category. We drop off 2 letters. Okay, so decir and hacer are irregular. We also have haber, poder, querer, and saber. And what we do with these 4 infinitives is we actually get rid of the E to form the stem. Okay, so then we just attach our endings. So abre, abras. That will be used for like, remember haber is the infinitive for I, so that would be like, if I would say there will be a test tomorrow, I would say habrá un examen mañana, okay? So poder, to be able to, we're going to get rid of that E, okay, and add our endings. Querer, get rid of that E, you end up with a double R there, that's all right. Querré, querrás is how would you pronounce that. And saber, we get rid of our E as well. Oh, my R didn't slide over, bummer. All right, and then you add your 2 endings, sabré, sabrás. So those 4 verbs, we get rid of the E, all right? And then the next 4 verbs, we change the E or the I of the infinitive ending to a D, all right? So poner, actually that E goes away, it becomes a D, and then we add our endings, pondré, pondrás. Salir is the same way, get rid of that I, replace it with a D, saldré, saldrás. Tener, get rid of the E, saldré, saldrás, or sorry, tendré, tendrás, I was reading one ahead. And then venir, change that I to a D, and you have vendré, vendrás. So that's going to be our 3 categories of irregulars, okay? Again, they have the same endings. Okay, so a little bit of time to practice here. So pause the video and take some notes and jot down, can you say in Espanol, using the new future tense, they will eat, I will write, she will sing, and you too will have. All right? Okay, so let's take a look at your answers. Hopefully you said comerán, escribiré, cantará, and tendrás, for you will have, and that's that irregular, okay? So, bien hecho, said you say well done. Let's do another slide of practice. Let's see how many irregular stems you can remember without, try not looking at your notes and seeing what you can remember there. So pause the video and see what you can do there. Okay, so hopefully you said caber. Caber is one where we get rid of the E, so that would be cabra. And poner, we get rid of the E, pondra. Decir, we get rid of the EC, so that'd be dir. Haber, again we get rid of the E, so abra. Salir, we change the I to a D, saldra. Hacer, we get rid of the the CE, okay, and so that would be ar. Poder, get rid of the E, podre. Tener, change the E to a D. Querer, get rid of the E. Valer is another one where we change the E to a D. I realize that those 2 were not on the previous slide, but you can take those notes now. You can jot those down. And saber, get rid of the E, you get saber. Venir is another one where we change the I to the D and we get vendra. Okay, one last word about the future tense, and we will discuss this more in class, all right? And that is when we're talking about probability or conjecture, which is the word for wonderment, okay? So if we're wondering in the present, or we're saying probably in the present, we can use the future tense in Spanish for that, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with saying probablemente, but you could also sound much, much more fluent if you're wondering about the future and you put it into or you're wondering about the present and you put it into the future. So if you're saying, I wonder where Antonio is, you can say, ¿Dónde estará Antonio? And you're not really saying, where will Antonio be? You're saying, I wonder. And it would be a heavy reliance on context there as well, okay? And he's probably playing computer games. Estará jugando juegos electrónicos. That use of the future there is saying probably, okay? I wonder what time it must be, or I wonder what time it is. ¿Qué hora será? That's a really common use of this future tense. And I say, oh, it must be around 6 o'clock. Serán las 6. So we'll work with that concept a little bit more in class as well, okay? But I did want to include that in the video. Okay, and that's all for our lesson on el futuro, and don't forget to complete the Google form. Gracias.